Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one we are going to do another Japanese sake review, and we're going to round off the 7 prefectures of Kyushu mini-series that I've been doing for you over the last few videos. So as I've told you in previous installments in this mini-series, basically I have a bit of a project with the sake reviews where I want to review one from each of the 47 prefectures of Japan. And when I was in Kyushu, the southernmost of the 4 main Japanese home islands, in the summer with Michiko and my cousin Ryan, we went round all of the 7 prefectures and I picked up a sake from each of them, and we also got to try some of the local food, which was really quite nice. As I've told you before, Japan is a very regional country, if you like. They very much value regional produce and things like that, so that's one of the other reasons I'd quite like to do this for you here on the channel. But so far in this mini-series I've done a sake review from Fukuoka, from Kumamoto, Oita, Miyazaki, Kagoshima, Nagasaki, and now for prefecture number 7 we are going to Saga prefecture, and that's basically just the order that we travelled around these prefectures. Of course, prefecture of course is just the Japanese equivalent of, I guess, like a county or a state almost. But yeah, for this one then we are going to go to Ureshino city, which is in the southwestern part of Saga, very famous for its beef, just like Miyazaki prefecture. But we're going to have a look at my first sake from Gochoda Shuzo, and they sell their sakes under the brand name Azumaichi, and this particular sake's name is Namashu, and this one I think should be really quite interesting. This is a bit different compared to the other Kyushu sakes you've seen me review. So this one comes in at 19% alcohol, so pretty high. It's a Genshu. Genshu means that they don't basically dilute the sake down a bit with water. Quite often, and I didn't know this until I researched this particular sake, quite often they dilute the sake down to around 15% alcohol because the fermentation goes a little bit higher. They usually use it to kind of adjust. Some breweries don't do that, but Genshu basically means that it is not diluted. It's also a Seishu, which means that it's a transparent one. The opposite of that, of course, is Nigori, which is unfiltered, and it's also a Honjozo as well, which means they add a little bit of distilled alcohol into it. But this one has rice grains that are milled down to 64% of the original size, which is quite unusual actually to be that specific with it, but you'll see why when we talk about the history of this brewery a little bit. So a very unique sake in a few regards, a new style to me if I remember correctly. I think I've maybe had one Genshu from Niigata before and reviewed that for you on the channel, but this one I think should be really quite interesting, and definitely a nice one to round off the mini-series with. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the sake. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Gochoda Shuzo. I've got one more of their sakes to review, and hopefully I can add more beyond that. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer, whiskey and sake based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever takes your fancy. Do check out the playlist there as well. There is one for the sakes I've reviewed, one for the whiskies, and lots of different ones for the beer, because that's the main focus of the channel. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other sakes, whiskies and beers and things like that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Gochoda Shuzo. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Gochoda Shuzo are based in Ureshino city, which is in the southwestern part of Saga prefecture on Kyushu, the southernmost of the 4 main Japanese home islands. So this brewery was founded back in 1922 by Heiji Setaga, and the sakes are sold under the name Azumaichi, but this kanji, which you can see on the front of the bottle here, this also has the reading Toyoichi, which translates roughly to the best of the Orient, and they say that they chose this because that is their ambition, if you like. They want to be the best sake producer in the Orient, which is kind of it's kind of interesting, that, because I didn't think that sake was produced too widely outside of Japan. There's lots of different alcohol, distilled spirits and things like that, but Nihonshu, if you like, is pretty exclusive to Japan, although you will find breweries in other places, but not on the same scale as you will in Japan, right enough. But another interesting thing about this brewery, and this goes back to the point about rice I was making earlier, since 1988 this brewery have also produced their own Yamada Nishiki rice for use in their sake. This is a very popular kind of rice strain, I guess you could say. A lot of breweries use this. But the area in which this brewery is located is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, and this helps give them good temperatures for rice cultivation. And they also have the Shiyoda River close by, which gives them a good water source both for brewing and for the rice cultivation. But today this brewery is held in particularly high regard for their rice milling technology and also the brewing setup that they have, because it's supposed to be very, very unique. And as I've mentioned to you in the other videos in this little Kyushu mini-series, this region, Kyushu, the island, is better known for shochu, because it doesn't require the kind of lower temperatures and things to ferment, and and we've not had artificial refrigeration until quite recently. When you think about it, it's the same story with German beer production back in the day. This is why they made all the cellars and things. So yeah, kind of interesting that they're really taking pride in being a local kind of Saga sake producer, and they've got a lot of technology there to make that a little bit different. So yeah, 64% milled rice is quite unusual for this one, but if they've got all these kind of interesting technologies and stuff at this brewery, it makes sense that they'll play around with it a little bit. So yeah, that was all the information I was really able to find on Gochoda Shuzo. As I've mentioned to you before with the sake reviews, the websites are sometimes a little bit difficult to navigate, and some of them are quite old and quite clunky and things like that. These guys, the website for these guys wasn't too bad actually. It didn't have a company profile though to tell you how many generations of the family and things had been involved. It didn't have too much in the way of history. Some websites are very good like that, some of them not so much, and it's difficult to find newspaper articles on sake breweries and stuff like that. Japan's very old school. Not a lot of the newspapers and things have digitalised their old editions and things like that here, from what I gather. But yeah, interesting brewery this one. But that's all you need to know about them. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can I'll see if they've got Facebook and Instagram that you can follow. And as always with the sake reviews, you can check out like Urban Sake and Sake 101 if you want to learn a little bit more about different styles and the brewery and things itself. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this sake then. So this bottle has been sweating a little bit because we've been sitting doing this video. But yeah, as you can see, this one is quite nicely presented. The other sake that I have from these guys is their, I think it's Junmai Ginjo. It's Junmai something anyway, but it's in a bottle that's very, very similar to this actually. So it's just got a different coloured label. But this one, you can see this kanji that's on the front here, this is Azumaichi, which as I said to you can be read as Toyoichi as well. Onyomi and Kunyomi, I think Chinese reading and Japanese reading. When it comes to actually reading Japanese, if the character is on its own, you read it in the Japanese way. And if you read it, if it's next to another one, you read it in the Chinese way. So yeah, different pronunciations, one of the many complexities of the Japanese language. But yeah, as I said, 19% alcohol, Genshu, which means that it's not diluted, Seishu, which means that it's clear, and Honjozo, which means they have added a little bit of distilled alcohol to it. There you can see it has its own bottle cap as well, Gochoda Shuzo. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. So yeah. So as I've told you in previous videos, I'm by no means an expert when it comes to Japanese sake. I just appreciate them and enjoy doing something a little bit different for you guys here on the channel. So according to the experts, the things that we have to rate sake on is both the impact when we take it in and the tail end. We also have to talk about sweetness, dryness, acidity, fruitiness, earthiness, and floral character. If I've said that, I'm just checking my template that I have for my notes later. I think I've mentioned everything. So yeah, we'll kick off with the impact then when we have a taste of it. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from sake generally, unless it's a nigori, it is pretty crystal clear. Quite often they have a little bit of a tinge to them. I would say that this one is a very light sort of greeny tinge. It's got a very light kind of turquoisey kind of tinge to it, but as you can see, this one is crystal clear. Other than that, there's not too much to comment on with this one in terms of its appearance. And as I've told you before, the big variable when it comes to sake and making them taste different is the different soils that the rice is produced in, different types of rice and stuff like this. And of course you can add bits of distilled alcohol and things like that to change the flavour and stuff slightly. But a nice looking sake, this one, pretty damn clear. So let's have a look at the aroma and see how we get on with it. Oh, this one actually comes across as quite pungent. This is one of the more pungent sakes I've come across in this mini-series, definitely. So yeah, where to start with this one? So straight away, for me, there is a degree of sweetness to this one. And I don't know if that's, if like with beer, you can say that the level of sweetness that you'll get out of it is kind of due to the, you know, the alcohol content and things like that. If it's higher in alcohol, maybe you're going to get more sweetness and things out of the aroma. But to me, there's quite a level of, there's quite a little bit of acidity to this one actually coming out too. It's got a good bit of a floral character to it. In terms of the fruitiness, it's quite appley, and I've always found with the sakes, if it is a little bit more acidic, you tend to get a wee bit of that sort of appley kind of note out of it. There's maybe a little bit of a perry ester in there as well, so you are getting some fruitiness, but the fruity notes in this one are a bit sharp and a bit juicy. Like I say, a little bit of sweetness underneath, good degree of floral character to this one. It's not the most pungent or snappy in terms of its floral character, I don't think. It's mainly the sort of appley, slightly acidic esters that are coming out of this. If you take it in a little bit more deeply, I think there's a little bit of earthiness at the back of the nose, but that's not the most prominent thing in the aroma. It really is the kind of appley, acidic type things, along with some of the floral character and some of the sweetness as well. So yeah, the aroma of this one is quite punchy, I have to say. So yeah, just bear that in mind with this one. Take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this before we get into it. I'm really curious as to see how dry this one's going to be, because when it's on Jozo, they do tend to be dry, and you can really smell a little bit of that kind of... This one smells like it's going to be dry, let's just put it that way. So yeah, it smells quite nice at the same time. It's got a good degree of sweetness to it, but a good little bit of acidity in my mind, and some nice kind of sharp appley esters, a little bit of a perry note in there too. It's quite interesting, that. So yeah, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma, but let's have a taste of this one now then. This one is the Namashu, a 19% Genshu Seishu Honjozo from the Azumaichi range at Gochoda Shuzo in Saga Prefecture on Kyushu in Japan. This one rounds off my 7 prefectures of Kyushu mini-series. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skol, Kampai. Right. That is really nice, actually. That's a lovely sake. I mean, it does tend to be the case that the stronger alcohol ones, as I was kind of predicting earlier, they come across as quite sweet. This has got a lovely sweetness to it, but I'll tell you something, you do get a big alcohol warmth down here in your chest, actually. But this is lovely. Make sure, if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at this. This is one of the ones that I've enjoyed most, I think, so far doing the sake reviews. So yeah, let's talk about the impact of this one then. So when you take it in, first thing you're going to notice about this is a big oily sake, and it comes in right away. A little bit of juiciness to this one, but then the way that it kind of smooths out across the centre of your palate and gives you that lovely sweetness is really, really very nice. And I mean, if they're being so specific with it to mill the rice grains down to 64% rather than just 60 or something, they've obviously played with this recipe a little bit and tried it and perfected it. Like I say, they're very well known for their milling technologies and stuff, and this sake in my mind has worked out beautifully. I mean, this is lovely. I really, really like this one. The sweetness, overall I would say that this is a sweet sake rather than anything else. It's definitely at the sweet end of the spectrum. You can feel that right in the middle of your palate. Yeah, it's interesting because the aroma was given the impression that this was going to be really floral and really acidic. And if you just go in front, behind the fruity part of your palate at the front, you can get a little bit of that kind of acidity to this one, and you feel it coming out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. There is a little bit of that, but it's nowhere near as prominent as I was thinking it would be. This one just has a lovely, big, oily sweetness to it, and that's what really dominates the palate. This is really, really very nice. Try this one if you get the chance. In the back corners of your palate then, there is a tiny little bit of earthiness there, and as you go further into the flavour, you'll feel your palate just drying out a little bit and the earthiness becomes a little bit more obvious. That's quite common in a lot of sakes, and as you come further forward along the side of your palate, you get a nice little touch of a kind of floral thing with this one. It does, as I say, there's a degree of dryness to this one further into the flavour, but you've got some nice floral notes in there. It's not the most pungent floral note that you're going to find, but around the front curve of the tongue it's just that little bit lighter and grassy as well. Those notes though, the earthiness and the floral notes and the grassiness, they're nicely blended actually. I think it leans a bit more towards the floral side of things over the other two, but it adds a really nice balance to the sake. It balances out the sweetness very well, to be honest. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I mean, at 19%, it's probably just as well. I got the little bottle and I got two of them rather than getting one bottle of the big one of this one. As I say, the other one was a Junmai, but the fruity side of things is really nice in this as well. So if you just go to the front curve of your palate, and just behind that you'll get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out. And for me, this one, you do get a little bit of that sharper appley note out of this initially. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a kind of an appley ester to this one, but then it smooths out and you start to get, to me this is very gooseberry and lychee like this one. It's got a lovely, just big oily gooseberry type note to it. I think there's a little bit of a lychee there. Maybe as you reach the kind of the very front tip of your tongue, there's maybe a teeny bit of a kind of citrusy zestiness coming out of this. I don't know if there's maybe a little touch of a kind of tropical note in this one. It's, I don't know, like a little bit of papaya or something, you know, something like that. There is a wee teeny touch of a kind of tropical note in this, but for me it's very gooseberry-like and very sort of lychee like this one. Nice big oily, but also very, very smooth fruity flavours. I mean, the way that everything goes together in this one, the way it just fits all together is absolutely beautiful. I like the sakes to be very smooth and very sweet. Well, not very sweet, but to have a good degree of thickness to them, and this one really suits me down to the ground. I really like how this one comes together, and the way the fruitiness interacts with this as well, and the fact that the fruitiness is oily really suits my palate actually. This is awesome. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I need to remember this one and get another bottle of this the next time I go down to Kyushu. So let's talk about the tail end of this one then. We talked about the impact of this. This one comes in and it's just very, very oily and very sweet in the beginning, but then it transitions and it becomes a little bit more dry on the edge of your palate. So yeah, when you take it in, it appears a little bit wetter, then it just smooths out, becomes thicker and a bit more oily. Then the further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel that earthiness coming out a little bit. As I said, you get more of the floral notes on the side of your palate too, and then some of the kind of juicy fruitiness, I think, starts to push its way out a little bit more, and it gradually, that fruity character I'm talking about becomes gradually more oily the further that you go into the aftertaste of this one. But this is a beautiful, beautiful sake actually. This could well be my favourite one that I've tried in this mini-series, and I mean, it's a bit of a big statement to make that, because they've all been really pretty damn nice actually. Through all 7 of the prefectures, they've all been really good, quite different, I have to say as well. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, this is one of the bigger more oily sakes that I've come across. It's got some, it really is lovely and thick, and the way that the impact on this one comes out when you take it in, the way that it just thickens out and becomes more oily the further you go into the flavour, it's just absolutely lovely. There is a teeny little bit of dryness to this one. You get a little bit of acidity to it as well, as I mentioned earlier, just behind the fruity part of the palate, but really this is one of the bigger oily and more kind of boozy sakes that you're going to come across. As I said, you get a little touch of alcohol warmth down in your chest there, but all I can say is this one is awesome. I think this is perhaps quite probably my favourite one that I've reviewed in this series so far. So kind of unintentionally, if you like, we have saved the best one for last perhaps. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. It's been really fun to film this little Kyushu mini series for you. This was Prefecture 7 of 7, and if this sake is anything to go by, I'm curious to see how their Junmai, the Junmai Ginjo that I have, turns out as well. So you'll see that video appear in a little while. But yeah, this one was the Namashu, a 19% Genshu Seishu Honjozo from Gochoda Shuzo and their Azumaichi range from Ureshino City in the southwestern part of Saga Prefecture. Prefecture number 7 of 7 in this Kyushu 7 Prefecture mini-series that I've been doing for you. So yeah, let's just leave it at that. A beautiful, big, oily and very nice and sweet, fruity sake, this one in my mind. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this sake in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite sakes are as well from Gochoda Shuzo. If there are any other sake breweries in Kyushu or any other prefecture that you think I should check out, it'd be great to hear from you guys some recommendations. And I've got a very good sake shop that I can go to now in Osaka, so hopefully I can get a hold of some of them. But it's always good to get recommendations because, like I say, products in Japan are very, very regional. But I hope you've enjoyed this mini-series, and I hope you continue to enjoy my sake reviews over the next little while. There's definitely going to be more uploaded on the channel from different places around Japan. I'll need to think what my next sort of geographical project is going to be. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Namashu, a Genshu Seishu Honjozo from the Azumaichi range at Gochoda Shuzo in Ureshino City, Saga Prefecture, Kyushu, Japan. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Slanja, Skål, Kampai.